and flaxseed oil. बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बि ज़िदनी इल्मा. My topic is evaluation of physicochemical properties of fish and flaxseed oil. First of all, here is the roadmap. While coming towards the introduction, fish oil is highly enriched with some omega-3 fatty acids that are eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, also known as EPA and DHA. These are powerful omega-3 fatty acids, and what does these omega-3 do? These prevent different cardiovascular diseases like hypertension, heart diseases, and arthritis. And basic mechanism is that these are highly anti-inflammatory. Omega-3 basically prevent an inflammatory chemical, that is cytokinin, and by prevention of this cytokinin inflammatory chemical, these contribute to prevention of these diseases. So basic mechanism behind is that these are anti-inflammatory. Flaxseed is commonly known as ulsi, and it is powerful omega-3 source from any vegetable source. Basically, I have targeted two rich source of omega-3, one from animal source and one from plant source. From animal source, fish oil is highly enriched with omega-3, and from plant source, flaxseed oil is highly enriched in omega-3. That is richest source of omega-3 from plant source. It has alpha linolenic acid and linolenic acid that are omega-3 present in flaxseed oil. Alpha linolenic acid is about 57% and linolenic acid is about 18%, and combinedly these constitute about 40 to 50% of total fatty acids in the flaxseed oil. However, one basic drawback of these unsaturated fatty acids, that are omega-3, is that these are highly unsaturated, so they can be easily destroyed, and shelf life of these both oils is very less. So one technique that researchers have found to preserve these oils is by encapsulation. Encapsulation is basically that these omega-3 are, you can say that these are covered or enveloped inside a suitable food grade material, and then these are incorporated in any food product, like you can say like bakery products for daily life use. Now coming toward the objectives of my present study, the objectives were the analyzing the quality and stability of both oils and various conditions by storage on different conditions, and then on basis of these results, future recommendation for use of these both oils. Here is methodology. Raw materials were fish oil and flaxseed oil, and there were different chemicals that were used for different determination of different quality parameters. These were different quality parameters for checking the oil stability. Peroxide value, basically peroxide value give us indication of peroxides in oil. When an oil is going to deteriorate, it first produce peroxides. So by determination of peroxide, we can have an indication of primary oxidation in oils. While an acidin value and TBA value, that is thiobarbituric acid values, these both will give an indication of secondary oxidation. These peroxides, when primary oxidation occur in an oil, that will lead to secondary oxidation products. Peroxides will break down and will produce secondary oxidation products that are aldehydes and ketones. And determination of these will be through an acidin value and a TBA value. TBA value basically it is used for determination of autolysis in oils, that is self-destruction on oils, and TBA is an reagent. When it interact with secondary oxidation products, it produces red color. So more the red color, it will show that there is more unsaturation. Oh, sorry, there is more oxidation, that is secondary oxidation. So TBA value is basically when we put a TBA reagent in an oil that is going to secondary oxidation oxidation, secondary deterioration, and more red color will indicate that this is at highest level of deterioration, secondary. Then there are different other parameters like saponification value, iodine, and free fatty acid content. Iodine value is a direct indication of unsaturation in oil, and free fatty acid content is that when there is self-destruction in oil by lipolysis, then first the oil will be broken down into fatty acids that are free fatty acids and glycerol. Vitamin E and fatty acid profiling of oils was also done. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant, so its determination was very useful. And then the last one was DSC, that is differential scanning calorimetry. This is a very advanced determination for thermal behavior of oils. That is thermal behavior, basically the melting point of both oils was determined by this. So I will go further results in detail. And all of these analyses were performed in Purdue University, USA. The statistical analysis was done by two-way ANOVA, because story study was performed under two different conditions. So there were two parameters involved, therefore two-way ANOVA was done. Here are results. These are different treatments. T1 and T2 were at 4 degrees C temperature, and T3 and T4 was at 25 degrees C temperature. And these all parameters or treatments were provided controlled conditions that were airtight glass bottles with and flasks were covered with aluminum foil. Here is the first parameter, that is peroxide value. You can see that for fish oil, the values, if we see the mean value for treatment T1, that is for mean value was starting from 1.1, it has gone to until 2.66. And if we compare the different storage intervals, the values have gone from 1.01 to 2.19. So this is a very minute difference. This has shown that there is, if we provide the controlled conditions to oil, then there is less chances of that they will be deteriorated only under controlled conditions. And the value of peroxide value, as different researchers have given that by different experiments, they have shown that 3 milliequivalent is a standard value of peroxide, and if value of peroxide has gone beyond 3 milliequivalent, then that oil will be unacceptable. But below 3 milliequivalent, the oil is acceptable. So here we can say that oil is acceptable for consumption, but under only under controlled conditions that we have defined in our treatments. Similarly, for flaxseed oil, the values have gone towards 2.30 until if we compare different storage conditions, and if we compare different treatments, it has gone to a 2.41, that is below 3. And anacidine value, that is secondary oxidation, for determination of secondary oxidation, and the standard value for anacidine is that the value of anacidine should be below 10 milliequivalent. If it is below 10 milliequivalent, then oil is acceptable for consumption. And in our experiment, the values are under controlled. We can say that these are standard, and these are within these standards. Similarly, for flaxseed oil. Then coming towards the TBA value, that is also for secondary determination of secondary oxidation, and TBA value, the limit of TBA value is 6 milliequivalent. That under 6 milliequivalent, if an oil has value below 6, then it is acceptable for consumption. And in our experiment, the values are under this range. Similarly, for flaxseed oil. Then coming towards the chemical properties, saponification value has it give an estimate of that what is the average molecular mass of oils, and iodine value, it gives us an indication of unsaturation. Definitely there is unsaturation. If there are omega-3 in these oils, then there is also unsaturation in these oils. Then free fatty acids, these are free fatty acid content, as I have already told, that when there is a self destruction or lipolysis, then first step is that any fatty acid will break down into fatty acid, free fatty acids and glycerol. So this is that content that has been determined, and it is 2 in flaxseed oil and 0.5% in fish oil. Then HPLC quantification for tocopherol content was done. Basically, this tocopherol is another name for vitamin E, and why we have evaluated this, because vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant, and it prevents peroxides in different diseases. Specifically in cancer, there is a lot of production of free radicals, and this vitamin E is basically quench these or capture these free radicals. So it is a powerful antioxidant, and it is present in oils in the ratio of 0.52 and percentage 0.52% and 0.61% in flaxseed oil. This is the GC quantification of fatty acids, how much fatty acids are present, and these are, as I have already told you, that there are DHA and EPA in fish oil, and in flaxseed oil, alpha-linolenic acid and linolenic acid. These are, I have highlighted red, and docosahexaenoic acid is 6.9% in fish oil, and linolenic acid is 16.1, and alpha-linolenic acid is 19.0. That is maximum concentration in fish oil and flaxseed oil. In fish oil, DPA and EPA are maximum, and in flaxseed oil, ALA and LA are maximum. This is differential scanning calorimetry analysis. What is DSC? This is done for thermal behavior of fish and flaxseed oil. When phase transition occur in any oil, then it can lead to more flow of temperature in a reference sample in compared to as compared to the treatment that we have used. When we compare the flaxseed oil and fish oil, then peak temperature is high in fish oil, basically in negative value. So 34 is high in fish oil, and it is less in flaxseed oil. Basically, the main jo theme है इसका, that is unsaturation. I have already told you unsaturation is basically due to omega-3. So unsaturation, when there is high unsaturation, it will lead to more easy breaking of bonds, and that will lead to less melting points. These are the DSC curves for flaxseed oil and fish oil. Okay. Then on the basis of these results, there are different recommendations, as we have seen that these both are by different analysis that these both oils are rich in EPA and DHA, as well as there is a powerful antioxidant vitamin E is also present. And second, we have seen that under controlled conditions, these oils can be kept until 2 months safely, and we can consume that these oils in safe limits. So on the basis of these recommendations, on the basis of these results, it is recommended then that fish and flaxseed oil should be used in different dietary therapies to alleviate physiological dysfunctions of the body. And for efficient for safe delivery of fish and flaxseed oil, it is should be adopted for experimental models. There should be efficacy study should be done, and a dietitian should call for awareness program. This is very important. Awareness should be disseminated to public, because whenever we do any research, that is of no use if it is not disseminated to public. Then next one is certified government agencies should participate to bring the novel food into the market, such as fish and flaxseed oil encapsulates. As I have told you in the start, that these oils are highly unstable. One methodology I have shown you that under controlled conditions, these can be kept up to 2 months. But what will do if you want to use these other than 2 months, like up until 6 months, you want to use these oils? So the basic strategy behind this is that we can encapsulate these, and these after encapsulation we can use in daily life food like bakery items. So this is the basically that should be focused, and policymakers should implement nutrition oriented subjects at schools to inculcate this knowledge at grassroots level. These are references. Thanks.
Thank you. The next presentation is by Ms. Nadia Rais, Research Associate, Institute of Social and Policy Sciences, Islamabad. And the topic of her presentation is Clinical Anthropometrical Mismatch in Children of the Rural Area of Bamanda, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, since it's my MPhil thesis and it's being done in Norway, so I analyzed the data of my supervisor. So that's his data basically. So as we intended in introduction, we all know that malnutrition is one of our biggest challenges in Pakistan. And in order to assess and get the correct data, we need a nutritional assessment, and that can be defined as a systematic process of obtaining, verifying, and interpreting data to make decisions about the nature and cause of nutrition-related problems. Basically, the normal method that we usually use for nutritional assessment is biochemical evaluation, anthropometrical measurements, and clinical assessment and body composition analysis. It's not working. Okay, basically, since my research work is related to anthropometrical and clinical, so we are going to discuss these things only. So basically, anthropometrical measurements are used to estimate body fat, and lean body mass, and basically they are non-invasive and inexpensive, basically. And the nutritional indices that we are used for anthropometrical measurements are weight for height, weight for age, and height for age, and BMI. In the clinical assessment, normally the clinical assessment involves medical history, functional assessment, a physical examination, and it's basically assesses the general appearance, and it's very inexpensive, but it lacks the specificity, and it also has observer bias. And there's another term for clinical assessment that is a subjective global assessment that is normally we use in hospitals, and it contains both the a medical history and the functional and the physical examination. Okay, the rationale for the study was that sometimes the child look clinically malnourished, but they are anthropometrical, but having the normal weight for age or weight for length. This phenomenon is called the clinical anthropometrical mismatch. Basically, the term CAM was coined by Dr. Yan. He was my supervisor, and his colleagues in a study on the maternal determinants of child health in Bawamanda area in the North Congo. Like now it's called as a Republic of Congo during the 89-91. Basically, I did the secondary analysis on it. The present study will determine the occurrence of CAM and its determinants. The same population of children will be studied using different growth standards and new determinants, including the growth velocity. So the general objective was to evaluate the importance of clinical examination along with the anthropometrical measurements in the assessment of nutritional status in children. The specific aims were to measure the prevalence and incidence of CAM, and to study the incidence of CAM in 5 consecutive trimesters in order to see the seasonal variations. And number 2 aim was to find out the possible determinants of incident CAM, including weight velocity and length velocity, by doing a nested case control study. Okay, it was basically an observational cohort study, and the study area was the rural area of Bamanda, DR Congo, and basically random cluster sampling was done, and 16 villages were selected with all the children under 5,600. And it was basically followed up for 15 months with 3 months follow-up. And it was between October to March 1991. So there are follow-up for 15 months and 6 contacts. Basically, for the seasonal variation, the time period from June to November is the rainy season, and from December to May is the dry season. It's not working. Okay. So for the data collection, 6 quarterly surveys were done, and 15 trained nutritional interviewers and 2 supervising doctors done the clinical assessment, and physician and nutritional anthropometrical anthropometrist done the anthropometrical measurements. And basically, SPSS was used for the data handling. Okay, for the analysis plan, basically -2 standard deviation was taken to measure the anthropometrical measurements, and only 3 indices were used: weight for age, weight for height, and BMI for age. For the clinical assessment, examination will be done was done in 3 stages, and the stage 1 was muscle wasting at inspection or palpitation without any signs belonging to stage 2 or 3. And stage 2, muscle wasting and presence of one or more of the following signs: loss of subcutaneous fat, abnormally visible skeletal structures hanging, and this all. Stage number 3 included the edema and kwashiorkor that was not included. Okay, for the analysis plan, basically 2 type of clinical anthropometrical mismatch was considered. The type 1 CAM was when the children were clinically malnourished, but anthropometrically well-nourished. And in the type 2 CAM, all those kids were selected who were clinically normal, but anthropometrically malnourished. And the outcome parameters were prevalence, incidence, and we also selected, considered the age and the seasonal variations. Okay, for the analysis plan number 2, in order to find out determinants, we did the nested case control study. And for that, we took the cases who were normal at the beginning of the interval, and during the interval, they developed type 1 or type 2 CAM. And control were selected accordingly, like randomly selected all non-cases at the time the case is developed. And for the sake of, in the case of determinants, we only considered weight for age for the analysis. Bivariate analysis and okay. Bivariate analysis and binary logistic regression was used, and weight velocity and length velocity was also considered, but that was only for 3 months to 24 months. And it was properly approved by the foundation. So, okay, the results, we took the basic demographics in that we took the gender and the age at the first survey. Basically, there were more children related to the age group from 2 to 5 years. For the prevalence, in the case of prevalence, type 2 CAM was more prevalent as compared to type 1. And if we see, there is a marked difference between the weight for age z-square when the indices of weight for age was considered as compared to weight for height and BMI for age. And if we see the prevalence, then the prevalence was higher in the dry season as compared to the rainy season. In case of incidence, it's the same thing, like there was a marked difference. And at the case of incidence, type 1 was more as compared to type 2. And it was very relevant that the type 1 CAM, that was the kids were clinically malnourished and anthropometrically well-nourished, that was more considered in more observed in rainy season as compared to the dry season. Okay, when we find out determinants of type 1 and type 2 CAM, then when we did the bivariate analysis, it came that for the type 1 CAM, diarrhea, anemia, and gender were significant. And when we did the multivariate analysis, it also came the same, like the diarrhea and anemia and gender were the significant determinants. In case of type 2 CAM, in case of type 2 CAM, there were, in the case of type 2 CAM, diarrhea, age, and physical impairment, prematurity, and gender were the significant determinants. In case of weight and length velocity, there was significant difference in terms of weight velocity when type 1 CAM was determined. Okay, in overall, if we says, then the prevalence was lower in type 1 as compared to type 2, and especially when we considered the weight for age z-square. And the reason why we see, because in case of when we check the determinants, we found out that the prematurity and physical impairment were the strong predictors of the type 2. So that's why the type 2 was more as compared to type 1. Okay, in case of predictors, we came to know that the diarrhea, anemia, and gender were assessed for type 1. And why the weight loss was too much? Because of because of the rainy season, there were prevalence of diarrhea was more. That's why there was a lot more weight loss in type 1 as compared to type 2. And number 2, in case of type 1, when the kids are clinically malnourished, we can assess them better. And in case of type 2, even if the child has lost the weight, they still comes under the international standards of the type 2. That's why it comes. And for the type 2, physical impairment, age, and diarrhea were the determined. And can be determined that because of the weight for age that was considered for the determinants, that was not a right choice. And it can be estimated why the type 2 was more, because it can be estimated that more children were stunted. So they were physically better, like in terms of clinical assessment, but when we did the weight for age, then they become malnourished. Strengths, validity and reliability. Large sample size increase the precision and reduce random error. Thorough training of interviewers and reference manual. System of continuous control during anthropometric sessions. Minimized measurement error. And cases and control were selected from the same cohort, and control was having the equal chance of becoming a case. And the limitation was that lack of time, because only a weight for age was assessed to find out the determinants. And there's a limited literature in the interpretation of results, and there was no knowledge about loss to follow missing data. Okay, the conclusion is that the high prevalence and incidence of type 1 and type 2 CAM and the difference between different indices used to define CAM indicate that single anthropometrical measurements should not be used in isolation for nutritional classification purposes, as they give misleading results. And the determinants found for type 1 and type 2 also provide evidence that by combining anthropometrical and clinical assessment, we can address such problems. And for the future recommendations, I would recommend that we can do the further studies can be done to assess this phenomenon, and anthropometrical measurements can be compared with other nutritional assessment methods to find the results. Thank you.
Thank you. The next presentation is by Dr. Anam Aman, Assistant Professor, Iqra University, Islamabad, on the topic effect of Egypt honey to modulate hypercholesterolemia via in vitro approach.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Anam Aman, Assistant Professor at Iqra University, Chak Shahzad campus. And today I'm going to present my research work that was conducted in Malaysia. So the topic of this study is effect of Egypt honey to modulate hypercholesterolemia via in vitro approach. So as we know that hypercholesterolemia is one of the significant factor for cardiovascular diseases. So nowadays the cardiovascular disease burden is escalating day by day. According to WHO report 2023, the 17.9 million people die from cardiovascular diseases in 2019. It means that the 32% of all global healths occur due to cardiovascular diseases. And this escalating burden of cardiovascular diseases can be modulated either by reducing the risk factors that are involved in cardiovascular diseases, And the hypercholesterolemia is one of the significant risk factor. It can be modulated either by drug therapy or by dietary interventions. So So, honey is a naturally occurring food that is extensively being used in complementary and alternative medicine to lower the serum total cholesterol levels as well as LDLC levels and HDLC, and as well as to enhance the HDLC levels. And honey is becoming very famous nowadays due to its active bioactive compounds that make him very good functional food and alternative medicine to reduce the hypercholesterolemia. So the exact mechanism by which the honey is used to ameliorate the lipid profile is not well understood. So therefore, the research was conducted on honey to investigate the potential of reducing the cardiovascular disease risk through lipid lowering mechanism, mainly involving the LDLC uptake in the liver. So within the human body, the regulation of cholesterol occurs in various ways. For example, the cholesterol synthesis, secretion, absorption, catabolism, and liver clearance and fecal excretion. So it is very important to study the cholesterol lowering function of honey by increasing the LDLC receptor mediated cholesterol clearance in the liver. So therefore, the effect of honey in comparison to tualang honey and acacia honey by LDLC uptake mechanism was determined using the hepatocellular carcinoma cell lines, HepG2 cell lines. So the methodology, Egypt honey was imported from the local supplier as well as the Malaysian tualang honey and Malaysian acacia honey was also purchased from local supplier, and the HepG2 cells were obtained and they were maintained in Eagle's minimal medium and supplement, and the splitting was done at 70 to 80% confluency. In the next steps, to study the effect of honey, mainly there were the three types of honey. One was the Egypt honey, second was the tualang honey, and third was the acacia honey. So there was the comparison was done between the three honey types, that which honey type gave the better LDL uptake. So for this purpose, the HepG2 cells were divided into 4 groups. They were treated with EME, complete medium, lipid depleted FBS, and then cholesterol, and then the 25 hydroxy cholesterol. So all 4 groups were treated with each type of honey. First group was treated with the crude extracts of Egypt honey with different concentrations. For example, 7 micrograms per ml, 15 micrograms 10 per ml, 30 micrograms, 45 micrograms per ml. And the group 2 was treated with different concentrations of tualang honey. Group 3 was treated with different concentrations of crude extracts of acacia honey. And all these groups were then incubated for 16 hours on same 96 well plates. And the negative control was without any honey extract, and all of these groups were conducted in quadruplets. Then the body fee FL LDL label, it was applied at the cells at 100 microgram per well for 4 hours in dark conditions to determine the LDLC uptake. Then the uptake of the honey, uptake of the LDL by using the different types of honey was assessed by using the various skin fluorescent plate reader at the reading 490 and 515 nanometer. Then after obtaining the results, the normality of data was assessed using the Anderson-Darling normality test. Then one-way ANOVA was used to determine the variances between the three groups using SPSS, and the difference between the different concentrations was determined by using the Tukey's HD and LSD tests results. So our result shows that after the application of honey to HepG2 cells, the all three types of honeys, Egypt honey, Tualang honey, and Acacia honey, showed the increase the LDLT uptakes that has been shown in the figure. So it was found that that the Egypt honey gave the maximum lipid uptake expression, that was the 2.7.98%, followed by the Tualang honey that showed the highest lipid uptake, that was 179.5% at concentration 7 micrograms per ml, and then Acacia honey also showed the highest lipid uptake, that was the 172.26 at 15 micrograms per ml. So the overall trend was that the all honey types showed the maximum LDLC uptake at minimum concentrations. So in conclusion, we can say that the Egypt honey gave the better LDLC uptake as compared to other two types of honey. So it was proposed that the LDLC uptake by using the honey might be due to upregulation of the sterol responsive element binding proteins that is mainly involved in the LDR messenger RNA expression. When there is the increased LDLR messenger RNA expression, it will lead to increase the expression of the LDLR receptors, and there will be increased LDL uptake. So LDLR expression plays an important role in bonding and endocytosis of the circulating LDL, and thus increase its plasma clearance. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the last presentation of today's session, developing a model dietary plan based on the principles of Mediterranean diet with low dietary inflammation and high antioxidant capacity for university students with perceived stress, by Ms. Javeria Abid, lecturer, National University of Medical Sciences, Rawalpindi.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is a single part of my PhD research, and being a teacher, my students, they are already sitting here and they always complain that I'm asking too much questions. So the topic is basically developing a model dietary plan based on the principles of Mediterranean diet. First of all, I want to ask you, not the nutrition professional, that you have any idea what is Mediterranean diet? Anyone ever heard of it? No, you are a student, my student. Ever heard of it? I think no. Yes. Okay, so can you tell me? Okay. Okay. You. All right. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Basically, academic stress is something which is heavily responsible for dropouts and the poor performance in academia. And especially from the university which I belong, there is a very strict rule that if student doesn't perform well, they go for dropout. So basically, the theme was to propose a Mediterranean diet and the Pakistani diet, and to mix it and to develop a 3-day menu cycle. So this is a roadmap. All of the students, you all will agree that academic stress is something which is a very huge thing. Academic stress, what is academic stress and how can we monitor it, and how can we, basically academic stress is not related to the load of exam semester thing, we have covered all the aspects. Academic stress may be because if the student is stressed from, from his or her family, or any other thing which are stressors basically. So as I told you that it is just a minute topic and a very short theme from my own PhD study. What we have done that we are trying to, inflammatory index of diet. Inflammatory index of diet, you might be familiar with that, those diets which are responsible for enhancing inflammation in our body. So the theme is that Mediterranean diet, as it was supposed, and it was inspired by southern Spain in early 1960. And then with scientific evidence, it was modified according to the nutritional needs. And basically, it was first introduced for hypertension and for cardiovascular disease. So a model dietary plan we developed is basically it was a pilot study, and there were 20 students were enrolled in one arm and 20 in another arm. And based on the different interviews, different questionnaires which we have developed, some open-ended and some closed-ended, we generated that traditional Pakistani diet like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what we are having in our traditional Pakistani diet, and how can we modify it easily, like economically, within your budget, and would it be implemented easily, or would it be effective or not? So as Mediterranean diet, I already told you that it was basically developed for hypertension and cardiovascular disease. And the main theme and the main components of Mediterranean diets are everyday intake of whole grains and olive oil. Whole grains are basically, in Pakistan, in Desi terminology, we call it lal aata. Desi aata, lal aata, chakki ka aata, right? Not refined one. Refined one is that of, white aata, मैदा, confectionery item, जो आप bakery के जो items होते हैं, basically वो whole grain में नहीं आते. And then, grains are our richest source of carbohydrates, cereal groups. So the carbohydrates should be complex. Complex means from whole wheat. For those who are not familiar with nutritional terminologies, for them, it's a simple term that use lal atta in your daily diet. And please limit or restrict white atta, refined flour, maida, and all the products which we develop from maida, like confectionery items, जो bakery में आप लोग mostly लेते हैं. And inclusion of fruits and vegetables. Whenever I throw a lecture in my class, all the time, I keep asking my students that, what have you done with your weekly diet? So most of the time they reply that we are hostelites, right? Students के issues होते हैं, हमारे भी बहुत होते थे. So we couldn't take fruits. So this is not a way. अगर आप एक deal मंगा सकते हैं, so you can take, a portion of vegetables and fruits. And all the hostels have, kitchen and microwave facility. So ये कोई बहाना नहीं है. So the inclusion of fruits and vegetables and some beans, nuts, spices, and flavors. You can enhance your diet with certain herbs and spices, and which was basically incorporated in our 3-day menu cycles. Flexible structure is basically about that it was not specifically on portion size. Portion size, so agar again मैं आपको पाकिस्तान की terminology या देसी जुबान में, the food you are eating, like for example, I am having a glass of milk. So one glass of milk is one portion, one serving, right? So a plate of, rice, biryani, dal chawal, whatever, it's your portion size. So portion size is not easy to calculate. So what we did, that we determine it on the base of their activity level and body size. Body size means that their BMI, body mass index, someone might be of normal weight, someone will be of overweight, and someone overweight, obesity. So basically we did it on this theme. Malnutrition and stress, and specifically in students. As Dr. Abdul Momin already told you, that Pakistan is having triple burden of malnutrition, right? So stress can also lead to malnutrition, because all of the time, in students specifically, all of you have appetite issues, right? Skipping breakfast, किस किसने नहीं किया आज सुबह का नाश्ता? एनीवन? सब करके आए हैं? अच्छा, एक है जो नहीं करके आए, राइट? आपने भी नहीं किया. So most of the time skipping breakfast and all the things, they lead to, the interface lead to neurotransmitters, serotonin and other hormones which are responsible for our mood, and it can lead to, malnutrition. So basically, what was the purpose of my study is to address the stress issues and malnutrition to Mediterranean diet. Observational study design, as I already told you, it was a pilot study, 2 arms in both, 20 students were inducted, and Mediterranean diet and Pakistan traditional diet, dietary components were selected from different, we conducted interviews, we generated Google Forms, we shared with them, and upon their consent, we took proper consent, and after that, we developed Pakistan traditional diet recipes, and then we convert Mediterranean diet. Okay, so 3-day menu cycle was generated, and the first calories per day, like how much energy our body needs. So we developed first 2000 caloric diet plan, then we proceeded to 2500, 3000 and 3500, depending upon the activity level and the body size. Okay, these are the results. Menu goals were set, like you can see, diet component, macronutrients, omega-6, omega-3, then fats, grains, fruits and vegetables, nut, fish, all of the food items are mentioned over here. Mediterranean diet and Pakistan. Basically, I want to tell you the differentiation. In Mediterranean diet, you can see that Mediterranean diet should be 45% from carbs, right? 37% from healthy fats. Fats are not bad. Bad fats are bad. We should consume good and healthy fats like omega-3, omega-6 and unsaturated fatty acids. So coming towards the Pakistan diet, as you can see, in Mediterranean, for carbs, it's 45%, where in Pakistan, it's 60%. Like typical Pakistani diet consists of how much carbs? 60%. And unfortunately, the huge proportion is from refined flour. As I already told you, जिसको हम सफेद आटा कहते हैं, जो कि readily available है. And yes, it's palatable. क्योंकि जोन सी भी चीज जिसमें we have extra fats, so it's palatable. Palatable means tasty. ठीक है? And similar for omega-6, omega-3, the comparison is given that in Mediterranean diet, all of the healthy aspects has been touched, while in Pakistan diet, in traditional diet, you can see it's quite unhealthy. 3-day menu cycle was set, as you can see. The upper one is Mediterranean dietary plan, and the below one is typical Pakistani diet. Okay, so as I told you that we generated certain questionnaires, and through Google Forms, we asked students, and they told us about their, daily routine. So in Pakistani diet, most of the time, especially on weekends, even in my family, we say, आज तो हलवा पूरी का नाश्ता करेंगे, ठीक है? So on the basis of these data, it was generated that mostly we go for halwa puri, and in lunch we mostly, I belong to KP. KP में तो कहते हैं कि हम लोग है ही गोश्तखोर, गोश्त ज़्यादा खाते हैं. So on the basis of, all, because it's not unicentral study, it's in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and then in Peshawar and different districts of Peshawar. We selected different universities. And you can see it's a traditional dietary, typical Pakistani dietary pattern. And then we switched it to Mediterranean dietary plan. And yes, we even asked students about their convenience. So mostly they replied that it's very difficult, for fats, when it comes to fats. यानी कि जब हम लोग oil या घी की बात करते हैं, it's quite difficult. Okay, how to replace it? So I just simply told them that just add olive oil. How? You can use it as a dressing in your salads, right? And we all know that olive oil is not for, deep frying and all the things. And we all belong to a very good families, and now air fryer system, you may aware of it, that air fryer is something that I asked students, and among 40, I think 12 told me that they are using air fryer for different recipes. So There are 3 recipes, day 1, day 2, day 3. Because of shortage of time, I couldn't explain it in detail. But as you can see that simple for oil, we replaced it with olive oil. And those students who were on 0 fruit intake, like they were not taking any fruit. So I asked them and I requested them to add fruits. And for those who were not taking vegetables, same, we add them as vegetables. Again, it's a difference between macronutrient content. As you can see, Mediterranean diet has 37% of fat. Blue one is carbohydrates, and the gray, as you can see, it's protein. And then in Pakistani diet, you can see that the blue portion, carbohydrates, is in a big amount. This is an average food group composition. Because of shortage of time, I'm unable to explain it. So the conclusion is basically on the basis of our pilot study, it was concluded that Mediterranean diet plan designed was healthier as compared to a typical Pakistani diet. And I am 100% sure that you all will agree with it, because the fats currently we are consuming, the dietary habits we are having, it's not healthy. So please, it's a request to students, to all of you, that please switch it and please go for Mediterranean diet or even healthy diet. It will be good for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all the speakers. Now we proceed to an open discussion format and question and answer session. I request our panelists to engage in open dialogue, build upon each other's points, and respectfully share diverse perspectives. Firstly, I request discussant Mr. Faiz Rasool to share his thoughts.
I think I'm audible, right? How much time I have to comment? It should be a very quick comment, or I can have. That's great. That's great. So thank you so much. I think this was a wonderful set of deliberations we had today. I have a background on public policies and public policy analysis, but in that context, my comments would have 3 different components. Number one, about the quality and diversity of presentations of today. Number 2, overall policy landscape we have in Pakistan, how we can influence that. And finally, a kind of very quick way forward, how we need to influence our current scenario and what we are doing and what is not being done in our current environment. So I think on all of these presentations, thank you so much, Dr. Momin Saab, how he set the stage and shared in a very broad way all the nutrition scenario in the country. Dr. Momin Saab, your thoughts were very instrumental in a way that that gave all of us to a direction how to link all the research work that different presenters have done before. And I think one area which I would like to highlight out of your work, which is one thing that we have to incorporate what is being done globally in a very current situation. It has been history, honestly, saying that we have been thinking about individual food items and these kind of things. Now, things are changing at the global level. I will give you an example on UN Food Systems Summit that happened in 2021. That summit has overall changed the thinking and the global priorities, where the investment should go, how much important different systems are, starting from health system, moving towards social protection systems, and then forwarding it to the level of food systems. So things are evolving, and in this context, I think this would be very much important to move forward in a way that we can go and think and address food system challenges and issues. And if we think about food systems, I would say all of these system, either it's a health system, it's a social protection, it's wash everywhere going to get incorporated into our food system dimensions. Dr. Umar Farooq Saab, a wonderful, wonderful presentation, I would say, and how you have shared your cross-sectional study to determine the association between physical activity levels and overall hyperuricemia. I think uh, your work has been wonderful, I would say. It was great. One area you mentioned very well about global physical activity questionnaire. And I was thinking that how we can really address and deal here the global diet quality questionnaire. We do have a global diet quality questionnaire that's known as DQQ. Yeah, DQI and DQQ also very new trend that's being done by Global Diet Quality Project. So that's one area, and I think if we got some time, I would be very happy even to visit you to give some more deliberation on that and where we can address that area. But your established association between sedentary lifestyle, then the sitting habits and the sitting patterns, and finally the overall fitness and health situation. Wonderful work. Next area, Dr. Sajila Akram. I think fish and flexi dials, all your work on this and how you have established some benefits out of it and how you have elaborated to increase the shelf life and how to use in future. Very much appreciable. And finally, when you give some different situations on with different temperature and different treatments, that was a wonderful event. And one area which I was really impressed, how you use HPLC quantification for vitamin E identification. I think that's very helpful for our future work in the country to utilize. And on number 4, this was Congo's work done by our colleague Nadia Reis. Thank you so much for your work. And I think we would highly appreciate how you have elaborated and how you have connected the importance and need of different methods while our research work. I was thinking only one point into your work, Dr. Sajila, if in future, Dr. Nadia, sorry, if in future you can give some recommendation to our existing research practices, how we can really influence our research behaviors and practices to adopt not only single method, but a multiple methods to strengthen our work and the output and the results. Dr. Anam's work, wonderful. And she shared about the Egyptian honey. And I think on this area, the lipid uptake and the linkage and association with the Egyptian honey, that's something, although this has been an established result before, but how you have elaborated, that was wonderful. And I'm really highly appreciative to this. Dr. Javeria's very impressive work, how she has done established linkages and how she's trying to help our students to reduce their stress levels. Wonderful work. And I think how the Mediterranean food can work to reduce stress levels. This was really amazing. And thank you so much for this, developing these linkages and these connections. At the end, all of these work, I was really amazed to know when I saw all of these presentation and our work on national level. We are working these days to explore the policy gaps in Pakistan. Under these policy gaps, you would amazed to know that in Pakistan, even after 76 years of its age, we don't have any national nutrition policy. This is such a big gap that, you know, we all of us know that we had a prime minister who in his opening speech shared the challenge and importance of nutrition and the issues of malnutrition. But unfortunately, we don't have any national nutrition policy in Pakistan. This is such a serious gap, and we all need to think about that. Second area, today's discussion was more focused on food item linkages with health and nutrition. And we all are, you would be surprised to know that we don't have any guidance on food production. We don't have any healthy diet policy for Pakistan. This is, again, a second big gap that will never help us to move forward until we fill this gap up. We speak about non-communicable diseases, but we have no guidance on healthy diets, how we can address the issue of non-communicable diseases of Pakistan. Finally, as our next steps, if I'm not taking much time, just two more minutes. This is on way forward, and we have been in discussion with our academia, our research entities. Do we have any national research agenda? I don't know. I think you can speak on that. We don't have any national nutrition research agenda. Do you know that? Do we have any national priorities on nutrition? If we don't have priorities, or we can go for a national nutrition research agenda. So I think this is our right now. If we can make a commitment, I would request all of you, please put your commitment in this, that wherever you are, if you are with academia, if you are with any public sector, public entity or private sector entity, or you're an independent expert, please start raising your voice, how we can come up with a very clear and robust kind of research agenda that can help us, help our institutes that where they need to put their efforts on research. We keep on sharing. These set of presentations were really wonderful, I would say. But I have been visiting a number of universities in Pakistan, and I would say there is a big challenge on a focused research. And until we don't go for that focused research, how we can create a change on our nutrition status. So let's think about that. And on behalf of GAIN, I'm very much open. Our organization is very much open to provide any assistance to work on this national nutrition research agenda. Any institution which want to work, which want to take lead, we would be very happy working on that. Thank you so much.
Now I request co-chair Dr. Umar Zafar Jhagra to share his expertise and practical insights to enlighten our audience.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. First of all, I thank our chair, Dr. Tanveer Ibrahim, our discussant, Mr. Faiz Rasool, and above that, Dr. Momin and Dr. Umar Farooq, who asked me to come and co-chair this session. I must say, the session was highly insightful and thought-provoking. We had some great exchange of ideas. We heard about some great research work that has been done, starting with our keynote speaker, Dr. Momin. Dr. Momin, though currently is working in NUM's nutrition department, but also has been helping me out in our newly established department at NUMS, which is the Department of Avant Health Initiatives, where we are planning to launch a certification program on lifestyle medicine. My background, I'm a cardiologist, but recently my passion has been more drawn towards lifestyle medicine. And that is where the future lies as well. Dr. Momin has been helping me out in lifestyle medicine, and his talk today related to public health issues of nutrition and other issues that we need to address need very, very kind of what I would say is prioritization to address it. As for Dr. Umar Farooq's talk, an excellent talk. Something that is related to my field of cardiology, sedentary lifestyle. I must say, sedentary lifestyle now, it's been spoken as sitting is the next smoking, right? If you don't smoke, but you sit more than 8 hours a day not doing anything, you'll have the same diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, obesity, cancer even, depression, just because of sitting more than 8 hours a day. So we should really start looking at our lifestyles. Personally, myself as well, sitting in the office for a good 7 to 8 hours, that's not good. And research has recently shown that even if you walk for 30 minutes in the morning, but you sit the rest of the day, that is similar to sitting all day. So obviously you have to move around regularly throughout the day. Obviously, it is recommended that 30 to 40 minutes of walk, but I would say make that walk in regular intervals. If you are sitting on a chair, stand up, walk around for a few minutes, and then come back and sit on your chair. Obviously, sometimes it's difficult, but keeping your health in view and mind, that is the most important and priority thing that you may need to do. Coming to our talk of Dr. Sajila, it was an excellent talk. And I must say, personally, myself, I do take flaxseed powder, 1 tablespoon every morning with breakfast. Would that be of any benefit to me or not? Excellent. Right. So you, did you all hear that 3 grams of omega-3 per day is beneficial to lower the risk of or prevent the risk of cardiovascular diseases? So that is something, again, you need to look into by starting using omega-3 or flaxseed powder, which is a source of omega-3, flaxseed oil. So that was a great, insightful talk as well. Let's move on to Dr. Anam Aman and her talk on Egyptian honey. So where do we find Egyptian honey? Sorry. Right.
So we compared the Egyptian honey with 2 local Malaysian honey, acacia honey and tualang honey. So the Egyptian honey gave the better lipid uptake in terms of LDLC uptake. And later on, we conducted the research on human individuals. We gave them 1 tablespoon of Egyptian honey per day for 45 days. And then we compared their total cholesterol level profile and the results were amazing. There was significant reduction of total cholesterol as well as LDLC levels by using the Egyptian honey. So that's why we recommended that there are something might be due to its biographic origin of honey, might be its because the honey physicochemical properties and antioxidant properties and different functional foods of honey depend upon the geographical region, their climate, or their floral source. So might be the floral source was the main reason behind their this functional food of that the honey.
Good. Yes. So just to make it more clearer to you from the cardiology point of view, what it was kind of seen, what I understand from the study was that that consumption of honey as recommended, let's say is Egyptian honey, we take it as an example, it binds the bad cholesterol and clears it out of your body, right? So that's what it means actually. So that I wouldn't suggest that you start drinking bottles of honey, right? There is a specific dose for it, and anything in excess is poison. So just make sure you know what that dose is before you start eating honey in loads and loads of doses. Right. Let's move on to Ms. Javeria Abid.
Sorry for interrupting, sir.
So-
We have the next session in the next 10 minutes.
Okay, fine. I'll be finished in 2 minutes. Okay,
Thank you.
right. And with Ms. Javeria, breakfast quality in terms of, Ms. Javeria asked a question to the audience, whether they did breakfast in the morning or not. The question is, what kind of breakfast did you do, right? That is the main thing. Just having a cup of tea is not breakfast, right? So you have to have a breakfast which is full of nutrients so that it can take you through the day. And then lunch should be the next one. Dinner can be skipped, not breakfast, right? Or a cup of soup in dinner is enough. So I would, the only other thing I wanted to ask, comparing Mediterranean versus Pakistani breakfast, let's say just breakfast, what would be the price difference?
Well, it's a quite challenging question for me because the main focus was on, as we are from low middle income country.
Yes.
So if we are trying to switch to Mediterranean diet, definitely maybe some of the individuals
Like nuts and everything are very expensive.
exactly.
That's, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we did that in nutrition, we say that start your day with a good protein, high quality protein and good carbs.
Right.
So I just asked them to start with good protein, like an egg.
Good.
Yeah. And even they can do a paratha. This is a misconception that we cannot go for paratha and
As long as it's chakki atta paratha.
yes,
Yeah. Not a white flour, not the Quetta
Refined
chai paratha, which is all white flour and
Exactly.
refined flour. Right.
that
Yes.
Koita tea paratha,
Yeah.
lachhedar paratha, that not that
Right.
one.
Not that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just told them and they followed it, that just start with the quality protein
Yeah.
and complex carbs.
Right.
That's it. So I think it would be enough for them to start their day with a good macronutrients.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And last but not the least, Ms. Nadia Rais, excellent presentation. Malnutrition obviously does remain a very important thing, especially in children, though it's not my field much, right? But I would say excellent talk. And in the end, I would just say I have been enlightened with all these talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Tanveer to please conclude the session.
Thanks. I would like to say thanks to Dr. Moman and HSA and all the participants, as well as the team which make this event successful. It's short of time. I just want to take 2 to 3 minutes. Talks were very good, impressive, and they did well work. But this is not the path to entertain our nutrition with the letter of appreciations. We need to identify the gaps and something true which is better for the improvement of nutrition. In the same scenario, I want to just convey 2 to 3 things. One thing that is the this theme of this event or session would be the nutritional evidence-based health improvement. So G talks and presentations, 2 to 3 talks. I don't have much time. That's why I am not elaborating them. 2 to 3 talks were based upon the lifestyle medication. That is the source of therapeutic approach to entertain or improve health. 1 to 2 talks were about the lab-based approach, which identify the source of different significant micro and macromolecules to incorporate and help in the improvement of health. There were certain gaps over there, say about if I need to have some with respect to hyperuricemia, I think we need to have some more work over the duration period was March to June. That was the more number of clients were there, and you have data with respect to each component. But the average lifestyle is not the same as prevail in March to June. Everyone is moving to have a walk and move. With respect to the Vero Hep2 cell line working, we need to have the CPE, which shows that what sort of initiative have been achieved through the uptake of LDL, and how the fat is broken down into LDL and which is uptaken, and which sort of ligand binding or receptor binding have been incorporated to do that. So we need to have the identification of functional groups to cure inflammations, infections, degenerative and necrotic changes. We need to do that. With respect to mismatch study, we need to develop the external quality control standards, and those standards vary from each country to country. So the mismatch should be reflected with respect to global average results, not with respect to the Republic of Congo. That would be the genetic hereditary characters and traits that have been driven to them, and then the lifestyle of their population community. So those are the derivation of standards with respect to each country, and then we can compare all the data. Might possible this would be the mismatch with respect to global average changes, but not with respect to Congo. I would like to say thanks to all of you. Ma'am is waiting, and I'm very much sorry to that. I'm taking a lot of time, but these the comments and the research activities would be the part of as a reference for policymakers, not the layman ideas, the intermittent studies that everyone is taking and getting into the policy making to intervene over there. Every idea or every statement should be based upon some sort of reference. That reference would be the true background for preparation or development of strategy or policy. And these references would be improved through identifying the gaps in research activities. So that's why we did that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. I request Dr. Tanveer Ibrahim and Dr. Umar Zafar Jhagda to please come forward for shield distribution. Okay. And I invite Dr. Samina as well for shield distribution. Shields presented to our knowledgeable speakers. Dr. Umar Farooq, please come forward. Dr. Sajila Akram. Dr. Anam Aman. Ms. Javeria Abid. Ms. Nadia Rees. Our rapporteur is Zainab Ashraf. खुद ही ले लेंगे. Humaira Ayub Chandio. Our discussant, Mr. Faiz Rasool. Keynote speaker, Dr. Abdul Momin Rizwan.
My teacher, my mentor, Dr. Samina, from whom I learned a lot.
Moderator, Dr. Sadia Zafar. Co-chair, Dr. Umar Zafar Jhagda. Chair, Dr. Tanveer Ibrahim. I request all participants and panelists to please come forward for official photograph. Please come forward for the official photograph.
बड़ी स्ट्रेटेजिक लोकेशन है हमारे Thank you so much. Well managed the times. right now.